Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spud Lab TV. I'm Chef RJ Harvey, culinary director here at Potatoes USA, and with me I have.
Hi, I'm Chef Aurora Hollenbeck. I am the executive sous chef here at Potatoes USA.
So what we do is every couple months we decide to host a live segment showing you all the cool things that we've come up with using potatoes in the Spud Lab. And today we have a really special treat because we're going to showcase some really great simple school night suppers that you can cook at home with your family. We know that people are pressed for time during the weekdays. So we came up with these recipes in hopes that you all would find more time during the week to cook with potatoes. And we know that you all really love potatoes. So we're going to show you 3 really exciting recipes that can come together in a matter of minutes. They use a variety of potato types as well as potato formats. I know that we've got some fresh russets, we've got some fresh fingerlings, and we also have some D-high that we're going to showcase how you can take something from start to finish in just a matter of minutes using a convenience product. So we're super excited to get into it today. As with all the recipes that we showcase here on Spud Lab TV, you can find them on potatogoodness.com. So Chef, what are we going to work on first?
First today, we are going to do some hot honey fingerlings. We're going to slowly poach them in some vegetable stock, and then we're going to hit them in the air fryer or a conventional oven if that is not an option.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and get started with this. What we have here is we have just a whole bunch of washed fingerling potatoes that are set and ready to go. So we're going to put those into our pot. And then we're just going to cover those with some vegetable stock. Now, just like you would bring potatoes to a boil for mashed potatoes or anything like that, you want to start with cold liquid. And the reason we do that is because we want the potatoes to cook evenly. So by starting the potatoes in cold liquid, as the liquid comes up to temperature, the potatoes are going to slowly cook from the outside in. If we started with hot water or any type of hot liquid, we would cook the outside. And by the time the outside was fully cooked, the inside would still be a little raw. So starting with cold liquid helps us prevent that. So as these guys are sitting in our liquid and that's coming up to a boil, I think this is a good time for us to make our hot honey, right, Chef?
Absolutely. So here we have about half a cup of honey. We have 1 teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of cayenne, and half a teaspoon of chili. And you can do this at home and with your own ingredients, or there's also hot honey products available at the store for your convenience as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things about making your own hot honey is you can control that heat a little bit more, right? And you don't have to buy more than one product. But you know, if you already have honey at home, this is an easy way to do it. Or as Chef said, go ahead and purchase some and save yourself some time. So what we're going to do is basically take some paprika. We're going to add that into our honey. We're also going to add in some cayenne. And then we've also got some chili powder. And then that just gets mixed together and we're set and ready to go. So, Chef, I'm going to have you stir that. Now, we do already have some fingerlings that have been cooked, but basically, this is really simple. We're going to take a little baking sheet and we are going to then take our potatoes once they are fork tender. And that basically just means that when we take a fork and we stick it in there, inside of the potatoes, that it comes out really easily. You can do that with the tip of a paring knife or anything that just lets you know that those potatoes are done. So the reason we're using vegetable stock is we want to impart as much flavor into the inside of these potatoes as possible. Once we have these potatoes drained, we'll put them on a baking sheet. And at this stage, they're fully cooked. So all we're looking to do is to crisp up the skin, which makes this a really great recipe for any weeknight. Because basically, we can cook these in this stock on a Saturday or a Sunday while, you know, the game is on or we're just chilling at home with the family. And then throughout the week, when we're looking for really quick things to come together, we've already got our potatoes fully cooked. From there, we're going to pop them into our air fryer. These guys go in, and how long do we cook them for, Chef, and at what temperature?
We cook them for 15 to 20 minutes at 400 degrees.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and turn these guys Guys, on, we do have coming right out of our air fryer. Now the air fryer is great because it allows us to cook these very quickly. By crisping up that skin, we create this other texture. We've got light, fluffy potatoes on the inside, and that skin gets nice and crisp. So now all we're gonna do is just drizzle them with this beautiful hot honey that Chef made. And one of the things you can also do before you pop them in that air fryer is you can season them up with a little salt and pepper if you'd like. And of course, toss them with a little bit of olive oil. So this beautiful hot honey, we are just gonna drizzle all over the top. And hot honey is having such a moment. You're seeing it on all sorts of social media right now. And who would have thought all it is just a little bit of seasoning into some regular old honey, right?
The perfect mix of sweet and spicy.
Now, Chef, I believe we also have some green onions that we're going to garnish these with, right?
Yes, let me grab those.
All right. So just a little bit of hot honey. You can even serve this on the side to get them to come together. And that is hot. So I'm going to grab this guy. And we're just going to place these into our bowl. And this is a great side dish for roasted chicken, or if you want to serve these alongside of a burger, any type of like quick, easy roasted meats. You can even do some grilling. This would be wonderful to serve on the side. So once we have these beautiful fingerlings with that hot honey all over the top, Chef's just going to sprinkle these with a little bit of green onion. And there you have it. We have these beautiful roasted fingerling potatoes with hot honey. These are done in the air fryer. Easy to come together, matter of minutes, and so simple. I mean, how many ingredients was that? It was definitely less than like 6 ingredients. So no excuse not to have potatoes on the weeknight because they are one of the most convenient vegetables you can have to throw together for a quick, easy side dish. Now for the next dish, I think we want to showcase how we make a baked potato casserole.
Yeah.
RJ, actually really quick, back to the fingerling potatoes. We had a couple questions
Oh, fantastic.
come in. The first one was hot honey fingerlings sound amazing. What would you recommend pairing this dish with?
Okay, so some other items that you could pair this dish with. Thank you, Chelsea. And by the way, Chelsea is taking all of your questions and relaying them to Aurora and I. So one of my favorite things to do is if you have some grilled chicken breasts that you've cooked on the grill, seasoned up with a little bit of fresh herbs, maybe some rosemary there, maybe a little lemon, these hot honey fingerlings would go great with that. Another great dish to serve this with would be a simple meatloaf, right? I think meatloaf is one of those things that, can easily be whipped up and then you just put it in the oven and all you're waiting for at that stage is for the meatloaf to cook. So the hot honey fingerlings would contrast beautifully with that. You can have nice smoky burgers, a piece of roasted fish or grilled fish, or you can even pop salmon into your air fryer and get that all crispy. Chef, what other ideas do you have?
For after school with the kids, some sandwiches would go great. Even, a spicy grilled cheese would be incredible with these guys.
Yeah.
Really just any flavors. This flavor profile goes well with a lot of different items. So whatever you and your family love, this can be paired well with those late night dishes.
Any other questions, Chelsea?
Awesome. Yeah, we had one more. I love the idea of cooking in the broth while I'm relaxing on the weekend. If I only have beef stock at home, will that work instead of the vegetable stock?
Absolutely. You can certainly cook these in beef stock if that's all you have on hand. I do prefer to use more neutral cooking liquids. So chicken stock and vegetable stock are certainly not as intensely flavored as beef stock. But if you're going to serve this alongside a nice steak, or you're going to serve this alongside any type of beef, then that certainly makes sense from a flavor perspective. And I think that would be just fine. All right. So we're going to go ahead and just clear off our workstation. Next thing we're going to get into is we're going to get into a baked potato casserole. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I think what we'll do is we'll sit this right on this ledge here. Beautiful. All right. So casseroles, one pot meals, they're really great for creating some simple dishes. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to showcase how you can use a convenience product such as dehydrated potato flakes to make this come together really quickly. And, you know, I think there's a lot of misnomers out there about dehydrated or instant potatoes. They're really just fresh potatoes with the water removed. And so what we're left with is we're left with something that can come together really quickly, especially on those busy weeknights. And so potato flakes are wonderful. You can add them to soups, stews, gravies. You can use them as breading on chicken breast or on fish. They're just a great staple to have in any pantry. And also they can help you fix mashed potatoes. If you make mashed potatoes that are a little too loose and you happen to have some instant mashed potatoes on hand, you add just a couple of tablespoons of that into your mashed potatoes and it stiffens them up quite a bit. So it can help be a lifesaver, especially on holidays when you've got a lot of family coming over. It's just one of those staple pantry ingredients that I always reach for. But so there's a proper technique in getting them to be light and fluffy and delicious. And so what we want to do is we want to follow the manufacturer's instructions on the package. So we're going to start off with just having some water into our pot here, and we're going to bring this to a boil. Along with that, we're going to add in some butter. And you can use any type of fat here, really. So if you want to use olive oil, if you want to use, any other type of fat, you can certainly do that. Butter just seems to go really well with potatoes, so we tend to stick with that. We're going to add in a little bit of salt. And then we're also going to add in a little bit of ranch powder. Now, this is just dried ranch powder that you would make ranch dressing from at home. You can find it in your spice aisle. It's pretty readily available in almost every single grocery store across the nation. So we're going to add a little bit of that into our hot water. And this should come to a boil relatively quickly. And all we're really trying to do at this stage is just melt that butter. While we're waiting on that, we've got some other mix-ins. Now, this is a really great dish to really season it to your preferences, right, Chef? What else would you flavor this with, and what are we going to flavor this with today?
For sure. I know a lot of people out there also don't like ranch. So if that is not your preferred flavor profile, you can add in some spicy elements. You can add in even some sweet elements if that's where you're, some fresh herbs, things of that nature. We're going to fold in some sour cream, half and half, and cheese. You can use Greek yogurt if you prefer, or if that's what you have on hand. And we are going to top it with some bacon as well. But if you are plant-based, you know, you can use soy chorizo crumbles, or you can mix in various different flavor profiles. This is also a great dish that you can use your Thanksgiving leftovers for and build it that way using your leftover mash and some turkey and gravy and even some cranberry sauce if you want to add a sweet element. Really, this can be very versatile and can accommodate any palate.
Yeah, you can do some really fun things here. You could add in some, I don't know, you can add in your chicken bacon ranch and you can have that kind of flavor going on. You can use shrimp and you can use a different type of cheese like a Monterey Jack or a pepper jack cheese. And I see that our water is hot now. So here's the trick. Because you have this boiling water and you have these potato flakes, which are actually pretty delicate, you don't want to bring them up to temperature too hot. What we're going to then do is we're going to add in some cold milk into our already boiling water. And that kind of mitigates that temperature just enough where we don't have to worry about scalding or turning our potatoes any kind of interesting texture. That milk actually helps drop the temperature just enough to give us this really light and fluffy consistency. So what we're going to do is we're then going to add our potato flakes on top. And we're just going to give this a stir. So Chef, I'm going to give this to you. And then as Chef is stirring that, you'll see that these potatoes kind of rehydrate really quickly. So, I mean, if you imagine how much time it would take you to wash potatoes, peel them, boil them, and all that sort of stuff on a busy weeknight, sometimes that's just not feasible for a lot of folks. So this is a really great hack to get you to have, you know, potatoes on the dinner table within just a matter of moments. So, and into that, we're going to go ahead and add in our cheddar cheese. Just the pre-shredded stuff works great. We've also got some bacon. Now, if you don't want to go through the process of cooking your own bacon, You can buy pre-cooked bacon and chop that up. You can use bacon bits. It really doesn't matter. We want this to be as easy as possible for you. So we're going to go ahead and add that in there. And then we're adding in some sour cream. And the sour cream is going to really make this luscious, luxurious. It's going to give us that wonderful creamy mouthfeel. And I'm going to grab a casserole dish real quick, Chef.
Thank you, Chef.
So other flavors that we can have with this, you know, we can make this an entire one pot meal. This can have in some added protein. If you want to go vegetarian, I mean, I'm thinking sun-dried tomatoes. I'm thinking some nice rosemary. You could add in some goat cheese. That would be really delicious. So think about any flavor profile around the globe, really, and you can add in those different ingredients here. So now that Chef has that nice and well mixed, we're going to go ahead and transfer that into a casserole dish. Those tater tots, Chef?
It should be in a bowl. If not, we could just grab the finish.
While you guys are cooking, I have a question for you.
Sure.
And this is just for my own personal gain. With Thanksgiving coming up, is this a good dish that you could make ahead and maybe take to like a Friendsgiving or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can even, so if you make this base with the mash, you can top it with things like and turn into a corn casserole and add some creamed corn and even just a box of, cornmeal mix to make cornbread and it'll cook beautifully. You can add cheese on top. It will make a really, really great side dish. You can even turn it in and mix it with a green bean casserole and add green beans and dried onions and things like that. And it'll turn out really delicious. And I think it would be a fan favorite at any Thanksgiving table.
Okay, so here we have some tater drums, tater barrels, tots, and basically from frozen, we just go ahead and align those all over the top of our casserole. And at this stage, this can be made ahead of time. You could place this into the fridge until you're ready to bake it. You can have the kids help you assemble, putting the tots on top. I think is kind of fun for the little ones. And we just want to make sure that we cover the entire top. This is going to give us that nice, crispy, wonderful topping. And so in addition to the dehydrated or instant potatoes, we have these wonderful, crispy, also a convenience product, frozen potatoes. It really saves us a lot of time, but it's something the whole family is really going to love. So from here, we're going to go ahead and pop this into our oven. And we're going to bake this for how long, Chef?
We are going to bake this for 18 to 20 minutes on 400 to 450 degrees, depending on how strong your oven is. And then we're going to pop that out after those minutes are up and add some cheddar cheese to the top to get it nice and crispy and bubbly.
And because we're showcasing convenience equipment as well as convenience products, we're actually doing this in the air fryer. So if you have an air fryer with the capacity to hold your casserole dish, this is a great way to utilize that. So why don't you grab us the one that is already started. After this bakes, it's going to come out of the oven. And what we're going to do is we're going to top it then with some cheese and a little bit more bacon. And that's just going to give us a little bit more visual appeal, but also make it really kind of gooey and cheesy. So we're going to go ahead and start that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this guy. And we're going to just do this until our cheese melts. All right. And while that's cooking, why don't we go ahead and go to Chelsea to see if there's any new questions?
Yeah. We were wondering, are there any other types of potatoes that you could use for this recipe? So maybe for the base and then also for the topping. What could we sub here?
Yeah, so instead of your potato flakes, instead of making mashed potatoes, you could rehydrate potato shreds that are dehydrated. So if you're gonna go and have some for hash browns, basically do the same treatment, rehydrate them with some hot water, drain them really well, and then place them into your casserole dish along with the sour cream and the seasonings. And then you can go ahead and bake that in the oven. So you get more of a hash brown casserole as opposed to a mashed potato casserole. You can use slices, so like more like a potato gratin or something like that. They can be dehydrated slices, or you can slice them up out of fresh potatoes. One quick way to kind of give them a head start on cooking, so it saves you time, is you can actually microwave a whole russet or a whole yellow or a whole white or a whole red, just to par cook it before you slice it, and that will cut down on some of that oven time. We actually have another dish that we're going to showcase with a russet, can show you that kitchen hack of par cooking a potato in a microwave, or even par cooking it in an air fryer too.
Yeah, and I also noticed, I feel like you can have a lot of fun with the different cheeses that you use in there too. Are there any types of cheese that might not work in this recipe?
So I think that blue cheese would be a little too strong for this, but if you love the flavor of blue cheese, you could absolutely use that. You want to stay away from cheeses that melt too quickly. Like American cheese, I don't think would work all that well for this. It tends to dry out in the oven. You could, however, use something like a processed cheese in the actual folding in of the mashed potatoes, though, because then you can have those little pockets of like creamy cheesiness that happens with that. But really, there's not a whole lot of ingredients that wouldn't work well for this recipe. You can get really excited with all the types of cheeses that are out there. And really, this is a great recipe to help clear out your fridge, right? So if you have a bunch of leftover knobs of cheese or things like that, you can just run those on a cheese grater or pop those into a food processor if you have one. And that will, alleviate some of those leftover dairy products you have in your fridge. All right. So I think while this is continuing to go, we'll go ahead and get started on our baked potato, because we want to get that going a little bit ahead of time. Now, what we have here is we just have some simple russet potatoes. These are kind of the workhorse of the kitchen. We use these for a lot of different things. We use them for fries. We use them for baked potatoes. We use them for mashed potatoes. They get really light and fluffy, and then their exterior gets really nice and crispy. For this particular recipe, we're doing a play on a baked potato, and these are going to be taco baked potatoes. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to start these off in the microwave to kind of get them a head start on cooking. So one of the things we'll want to do is we have first want to pierce these guys with a knife. Now, the reason I do this, and there's a lot of controversy about whether or not you need to pierce your potatoes before baking them. I used to think you didn't really have to do that until I had a potato explode on me one time. So once that happens, you will make sure that you give it a little bit of ventilation for that steam to escape from the potato. I mean, potato is 80% water, right? And so when we go to bake it in the oven, there's a lot of pressure built up on the inside. So it doesn't always happen, but it can happen. From here, we're going to go ahead and place these in the oven. Now, for this recipe, I do like to oil them ahead of time. If I was just going to have a regular baked potato, I'd actually save the oil until the last 5 minutes of cooking. That kind of gives you a really nice crispy skin, as opposed to one that is a little bit more elastic. But I think for our purposes today, we want to make sure that the seasoning adheres. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of oil on the outside of this. And Chef Aurora is just going to rub these guys. And since they're going into the microwave oven to start, we really don't have to worry about that skin getting too different, because it's going to automatically do what it's going to do in the microwave. So one of the things I also like to do is I'm going to season that with just a little bit of salt and pepper. And then we're just going to wrap them in some paper towel that's been lightly damp. And then that's going to go in our microwave for anywhere between 6 to 7 minutes. And that's just going to give us a little head start so that the interior is mostly cooked. So we're just going to pop those guys in the microwave. And while those guys are cooking, we'll go ahead and pull out our Oh, that was just the preheat setting. Never mind. We still got 4 minutes on those guys. So while those are in the microwave, we've already got some that are microwaved. And these guys are set and ready to go into our oven. So we've put them on a baking sheet with a little bit of parchment underneath. You don't need the parchment paper. It just kind of helps in cleanup. So finding quick ways to help solve the long process of cleaning up is also really important. So we've got these baked potatoes. They are simply going to go into our air fryer to get nice and crispy. And we're gonna let those guys go. Meanwhile, let's talk about our taco topping ingredients. So this is a really fun way to jazz up baked potatoes on a weeknight. So what we have here is we've got a few simple ingredients. We have some avocado. We've got a little bit of grated cheddar cheese. Again, you can choose any type of cheese. Pepper jack works beautifully here. There's some Mexican blends that are out there on the market that work really well. And then we also have some salsa, a little bit of pico de gallo. And for those of you who don't know, pico de gallo literally means beak of the rooster. And the reason why they call it pico de gallo is so that you actually use your hand to pick up bits and pieces of the salsa with the chips and so forth. So it resembles a chicken pecking in a hen house. So beak of the rooster, fun little tip. All right. Then what we've got here is we've got some taco meat. So Aurora, you want to tell us a little bit about the taco meat that we're using today?
Yeah, so I use about a pound of ground beef. You can use, again, different toppings if you prefer. You cook it, you saute it on the stove top for about 10 minutes with the taco seasoning of your choice. You can make your own, or there's a lot of really great options out there that you just buy in a packet and simply sprinkle over the top with a little bit of water and cook that down until it looks really luscious and delicious.
And so we could use all sorts of different types of toppings for this too, right? I mean, we could use chicken,
Yeah.
ground turkey, ground chicken.
We have a great Buddha bowl baked potato recipe on our website as well. And that has a lot of healthful options that include, edamame and bean sprouts and things of that nature. But really anything in your fridge that you want to clean out, a little pot roast, some chili and mac and cheese would work really great as well.
And you can have the whole family kind of customized, right? So if you put out a bunch of toppings, do a bunch of baked potatoes, I mean, we'll talk about a really hands-off type of meal. I mean, all you're really doing is baking the potatoes, and your family, your kids, they get to choose what toppings they want on their baked potatoes. So it makes for a really fun, engaging family night for dinner. So we're going to go ahead and pull out, I think our casserole is just about done. So we got the cheese a little melty. We're going to continue to cook our baked potatoes, crisping up the skin there. So Chef Aurora is just garnishing that with a little bit of green onion. You can use any type of green that you like. I mean, it can be parsley, you can use chives, or you could just not add any green on top. We know some kids are really finicky and picky when it comes to something green on their dinner. So, make it fun, make it yours. And we're going to go ahead and spoon a little bit of this, I think, into bowl just to show you. So this recipe should make roughly about 8 portions. And this makes a great side dish to anything like a meatloaf, or you could have this along with a beautiful piece of roasted chicken. If you don't want to spend time cooking the meat portion, go and buy yourself a rotisserie chicken and pair it with this. Like, it's a really easy thing for you to put together. Okay, so that is our loaded hash brown casserole. Loaded mashed potato casserole, rather. And then we're going to do our baked potatoes. So at this stage, these guys can come out. And remember, they were fully cooked, so all we were trying to do was really crisp up the skin, and you can see how beautiful and golden they look. So right now, I'm going to, I've got chef in them, so I can do that quickly without running myself. So A trick for a baked potato, if you want to get that nice fluffy look, you actually want to insert your tip of your knife about an inch away from the edge, and you're only going to cut to about an inch away from the other edge. And then contrary to what you might think, instead of squeezing it this way, we're actually going to squeeze it from the long ends, and that's going to help us fluff up the center of that baked potato. Okay, so from there, we pop that into our little dish. And we're going to then spoon in our taco meat. Okay. And then chef, what else do we need on this bad boy?
We are going to top it with some cheddar and some pico, as well as an avocado that chef is about to cut up for us.
So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start on this while chef is doing the other garnishes. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm just using my knife and I'm rotating the avocado on the board. Notice I'm not holding the avocado in my hand and then cutting it. We just want to reduce the propensity for injuries. Once you have that avocado sliced all the way around, we just simply rotate it. And we get this beautiful, nice bright green avocado. Now, if you do want to remove the pit from the other side, a trick is you can just use the base of your knife, and with the avocado on the cutting board, we're just going to make sure our knife is inserted, and then we can rotate it, unless your knife is super sharp like mine. And you get one of these funny pits that doesn't do that deal. So the other way you can remove that is you can use it and press on the back side of the avocado, and that will pop the pit right out.
Yeah, and that's probably a safer option too.
Probably a safer. So now that we have that, we're going to use, well, I'm just going to go ahead and slice this guy straight down the side, and then we can peel off skin of our avocado. You can also use a spoon. And we're just going to get some nice slices of our avocado here.
I just garnished with some tortilla chips as well, so you can dip right in there and scoop all of that goodness up into your mouth.
This seems like it could be a really great way to feed a large crowd. Could this recipe be scaled up and like just throw a bunch of potatoes in the oven?
Yeah, absolutely. So, depending on the number of guests, throw that many potatoes in the oven, have them ready to go when people arrive, and really just garnish with the toppings that you prefer. So like chef said, setting out a bunch of different ingredients, letting people pick and choose what really suits their palate would be a great hosting event.
A tater taco Tuesday, if you will.
Exactly.
Right. So now we've got all three of our dishes all set and ready to go. We have our taco baked potato. We have our hot honey fingerlings, and we have our mashed potato casserole with those crispy tots all over the top. Any one of these would be a wonderful option for you for a busy school night when you've got a lot of things going on. They all come together really quickly, and you can prep a lot of this stuff ahead of time. So there should be no excuse to enjoy potatoes any night of the week. Anything else to add, Chef?
Echoing what you said.
All right. Awesome. Well, if there are no other questions.
RJ, do you mind just reminding everybody where they can find these recipes?
Absolutely. So all of these wonderful recipes can be found on potatogoodness.com. And what you'll do is you'll click on the recipe search tab, and you can search for any type of recipe that we've developed. We have been so busy developing so many recipes for our website. We have recipes for any type of potato product that's out there, ranging from fresh to frozen to dehydrated, fitting any flavor profile, literally from Asia to Italy to Mexico. We just have had a lot of fun preparing wonderful dishes using potatoes. Not only are there easy recipes like the ones you saw here, but you'll also find some more difficult recipes if you want to test your culinary skills in the kitchen. We've got everything from beginners to advanced recipes for those of you who are really trying to test your potato skills in the kitchen. But as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Chef Aurora. We're here for all of your questions and potato needs. And with that, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks
for
everyone
watching.
for joining us.
And